Welcome back to Dragon Army Books. My name is Dustin, and in this video, we're going to talk about the Sword of Kaigen. Is it as good as everyone is talking about, or is it just, okay? Don't worry, I'm kidding. A little bit. It's good. It is exceptionally good. And you probably heard people talking about it. I'm certainly late to the game. The Sword of Kaigen is an independently published book by M.L. Wang, and it is a Japanese-inspired military fantasy story about a young boy, Mamoru, and his mother, Misaki. They are a part of the Matsuda family, the Matsuda clan, and they are the most notorious family on their peninsula. And they are the protectors, they are the guides, they are like the armor that is to protect their country, their people, and they have done so faithfully for generation after generation after generation. There's a school actually on the peninsula that trains up the children so that they can then take the place of their fathers, of their fathers' fathers, and they continue this trend. And I specifically said fathers and not mothers because it is a very patriarchal society. And speaking of societies, it's just a very interesting culture that is created here, but a magic system that borrows heavily from, what is it called? Oh yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender. You've probably seen a lot of reviewers correlating this, and it's not by accident. In fact, I think that Wang has acknowledged that Avatar was an inspiration here, and of course it was, because we have got benders of various elements. Particularly water benders are the ones that we are most focused on. The people on our peninsula, on the Sword of Kaigen, are able to bend and manipulate elements of water and ice. And then even at a later time, they're able to work within the manipulation of blood to be able to heal wounds. And so it is very reminiscent of our friendly waterbenders in Avatar. Mamoru is a young 14-year-old boy trying to find his place in his family. His father is very not fatherly, not kind, not friendly, and so we've got a young boy who's trying to live up to what it means to be a Matsuda. He's trying to learn to control this ability with both sword and his, this magical ability that he has, and then he's trying to, as he befriends an outsider from outside of the community, he's trying to make sense of the stories that he's been told by his family and by his instructors that don't necessarily line up with the stories that he's now being told of the outside world by this new friend. On the other end, we've got another primary protagonist, a POV, which is his Mamoru's mother, Misaki, who used to be a crime fighter on the streets in her youth. She was bold, and she was confident, and she was capable. And now, as a grown woman, she is submissive, she is quiet, and all of her past has all but been forgotten. All of this on the eve of an invasion. Outside forces are coming in to threaten their way of life again. So both Mamoru and Misaki and all of the other cast of characters must figure out their new place and stand up to defend their homeland from the impending invasion. The story is kind of super cool. I think a lot of people will applaud Wang's character work, and her character work is great. Like, I really like the arcs that some of these characters go on, but I think it's the world building that she does best. In fact, there's a lot of resources here in this book, thank God, because a lot of words and language that honestly that I don't think needed to be used. And then in a Japanese inspired culture, so we've got like a lot of titles and last names that are being used instead of first names, and first names are in the place of last names, and last names in the place of first names. It's already confusing, but we've got an extensive glossary in the back. We've got family lineage in the back as well, and then up front we've got maps, 2 different maps. But I was told by a friend to flip my map over, and it would explain a lot. I rushed home, grabbed my physical copy, flipped the map over, and realized that yes, indeed, the world map that this story takes place in is kind of a reverse of our global map. And so you can kind of see where a lot of these cultures are, where Wang is pulling some of these identities and characteristics from as to where they are on the map. It was super intriguing. her fight scenes, her battle scenes, there was a massive kind of war or skirmish that takes place, are absolutely engaging. I love how she's able to really make each fight have not only purpose, but like depth. There's one chapter in particular called The Duel that was my favorite chapter in the book, or at least one of them, because the fight that is happening is great, but the deeper fight that is happening between these two characters, it's what's exceptional here. And I would imagine that it causes a lot of readers to feel a lot of things during these scenes, and reasonably so. I think that the fight scenes, they have a lot of purpose, have a lot of depth, and then just at the sheer like face value of them, the way that these bending elements with the tornadoes, because we've got these air benders pretty much coming in to threaten, and then we've got these water benders that are protecting, and the epic fight scenes and showdowns and loss of life, like just a lot of things that are transpiring here, and a lot of things that are unexpected. It makes it for a lot of fun. There's a lot of good action. But the problem is with the pacing. It took a little bit to really get into this world because there's a lot and it's new, but that's normal with fantasy, so I can overlook that. What I can't overlook, and what I do have some problem with, is the odd pacing, in that there's like 2 climaxes, and then there is a falling of the narrative that takes place over dozens and dozens and dozens of pages, multiple chapters. And it's just odd pacing. Maybe it's fine on just like a good narrative that's being told, but it's not cohesive with a lot of the other fantasy literature that we're familiar with. I think we've got a structure and a pacing that makes sense for a reason, because it makes sense and it feels right. And when we're so conditioned that way, and then we get something that's so different like this story provides, I think for some readers it will be fine, but for other readers it's gonna make you feel weird. It's gonna hit back at what you're used to. It certainly did that for me, and so I ticked off a few marks here simply because I just felt like with a little bit. See, this is part of it. I think it was independently, published, and so I think if she would have had maybe a bigger force behind her to help replace and prioritize and position and maybe make some cuts, that this book could have been all the better for it. That being said, it's still an exceptional story. And I think it's a standalone, which makes me like it even more, because if the story was told, if it is going to be expanded into a series, that's completely fine too. But I always respect when an epic fantasy story can be told like this and left like this. But we'll see what the future holds with the Sword of Kaigen. And I certainly want to say a massive thank you to Elliot Brooks, incredible booktuber that I take a lot of inspiration from, who hosted a giveaway a few months ago, and I won the giveaway, so she offered to send me a book of my choice. I actually sent back a few books that I had been thinking of or been interested in, and told her to surprise me. So she actually surprised me with 2 books, but one of them was this book, The Sword of Kaigen. So thank you, Elle, for sending me this book. I greatly appreciate it. What did you think of The Sword of Kaigen? It's obviously an interesting book, and I think most people at least like it. I won tons of indie awards, so definitely check it out if you haven't yet. Let me know what your thoughts were on The Sword of Kaigen in the comments down below. I'd love to know who your favorite character was, and as always, please, no spoilers. I love it for there to be no spoilers, and if you do spoil something, I'm going to delete that comment, and I'm going to ban you off YouTube and the internet. I've got the power. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch and like this video. If you haven't yet, click subscribe and join the Dragon Army, and we'll see you in the next one.